Well, here I am. This is actually Cebu. So there's a giant walkway to get across the street because for whatever reason they have gates in the median. I'm assuming to stop people from driving to the left and right. You'll notice that in a later video. But here, they pretty much kept out of the median, even when there wasn't a gate separating it. But you can see here that yellow line is actually a big iron gate that they have in between the two sides of the road. So this particular view to the left here is kind of a little mini mall. It's like a little shopping center that was just up the road from the hotel that I stayed at. And on the other side, this is just an image, exactly that, of the other side of the road. Um, yeah, it was almost constantly busy, beeping, a lot of beeping. So they beep their horns out here to basically let people know that they're behind them. It's not meant as a hey, watch out like it is in the US. It's just it's everyone does it. It's very common. Um, let's see here. So of course, going through Cebu, there was the eternal search for coffee. So up this street a little ways is where I ate lechon for the first time. Really, really good. It's amazing. I wish we had it in the States. This is an example of a sidewalk. It also functions as a drain, water drain. So those slots you see in the bricks are where the water drains out from up on high. Um, Power cords and things of that nature, or actually, I don't honestly know what these lines are, but you'll see a lot of them buried under cement. Um, yeah, it's this is different. But the sidewalks, if they exist and if they're in good working order, this is what they look like. And they're not very wide. It's basically kind of good enough for one person. There you go. Next, this is an example of one of the jeepneys. These things are colorful and very cool. I happened to go by one of the bus parks that was in Cebu. Um, Basically, I got pointed, somebody pointed me the way towards where a coffee place was. So, um, took me a few times running around in circles, more or less. Um, Things are not laid out uh, in a manner that I'm familiar with. I'll put it that way. So it's always a challenge to find pretty much anything um, as you're going, and it's easy to get lost. Um, just walking around, stumbling, finding your way through. But that's part of the fun. And of course, the ever present Jollibees, which is, I don't know, the Philippines' primary version of fast food is this place. I still haven't had a chance to get to one, but when I walked past this one, it wasn't open yet. But I thought this was funny because I'd never heard of or seen something called a tuna pie. They're inexpensive. Um, I would be more than willing to try it, though, Gabe, I know that you would loathe it. Um, but if this is like a tuna casserole stuffed into a crust, that sounds amazing to me. Yeah, so hopefully, before this all comes to a halt, I will be able to take a bite of tuna pie. So when I did get to the coffee area, um, like much of the area that I walked through and kind of looked around, the number of animals, like cats and dogs, that are not fixed. This is quite common. Some of them are in pretty rough shape, and some of them look like they're taken care of. But they're all over the place. So I now, something that I thought was actually kind of oh, this has to be an exaggeration. It really isn't. They are all over the place, and they run across the street constantly. You'll see that in a later vid if you pay close attention. Um, you'll just see dogs scooting along the side and then crossing the street, but people watch out for them. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout out to Bo's Coffee. Um, this was a savior in Cebu. I desperately needed coffee, and the waitress at the hotel that I was at gave me a funny look when I asked if I could purchase an entire carafe of coffee. Apparently, that is not something that is done in the Philippines. They said, no, it's money for 1 cup. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go in search of getting a bunch of coffee and 1 cup of coffee, which is my normal go to, anyways. Um, so that worked out in my favor. Bose was great, loved it, had a couple of these, highly recommend. Service was great, people in there were wonderful. So as I was mentioning, in the city, as you're walking through or walking by areas, there's such a stark contrast of money and no money. Like there's definitely, and it happens very quick. You transition from one section to another within the space of feet. And this was a guard station to, I think, some type of industrial park, but it looked like residential homes that were beautifully kept. However, the guards at the front had automatic weapons, shotguns, and it was a checkpoint. It was basically a giant no pour splash guard. Like, stay away if you don't have money. Um, I was even kind of nervous to film, but this was the location that it was at. And when I looked it up, it's some type of industrial park, or I don't really know. I couldn't. All I know, I asked about it to one of the locals, and they said it's money. So kind of like here in the U.S., but it's wow. The differences are more stark. Like there's a huge pendulum swing between the two. Um, because you'll see, around when I was walking through, I did get a bunch of kids came up and begged me for money. Um, I declined. They were not pleased about that, but at the same time, it was sad. But here, in that little mall that I mentioned that I had walked into, this was, of course, I believe this was on September 1st. Um, and it's, yeah, they're putting up Christmas stuff. Christmas in the Philippines starts on September 1st. I got such a big kick out of this that I had to take a picture, for no other reason than, and of course the girl, there was a girl in this picture, but she hid behind the guy that you can see there, because they saw me getting my camera ready to take a picture, and they were both grinning at me because they knew. I think the foreigners think it's funny, but yeah, this was this was my first day. Um, Something different.